This is the Pal Talk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users. On demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on Blip TV and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not, no retribution. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show, and I remind you to go to paltalknewsnetwork.com. Check it early, check it often, just like voting in Chicago, because it's rapidly updating with tremendous, in my humble opinion, analysis of things happening in the news from perspectives that you may or may not see, hear, or read in the rapidly diminishing mainstream media. Today in the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, resigned in an attempt to resolve the impasse that has occurred as a result of the hung parliament, the outgrowth of last week's election there. Well, he resigned, but he kind of, sort of, maybe resigned. Well, you decide for yourself. Boaz, bring us what Gordon Brown had to say earlier today.
If it becomes clear that the national interest, which is stable and principled government, can be best served by forming a coalition between the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats, then I believe I should discharge that duty to form that government, which would, in my view, command a majority in the House of Commons in the Queen's speech and any other confidence votes. But I have no desire to stay in my position longer than is needed to ensure the path to economic growth is assured and the process of political reform we have agreed moves forward quickly. The reason that we have a hung parliament is that no single party and no single leader was able to win the full support of the country. As leader of my party, I must accept that that is a judgment on me. I therefore intend to ask the Labour Party to set in train the processes needed for its own leadership election. I would hope that it would be completed in time for the new leader to be in post by the time of the Labour Party conference. I will play no part in that contest. I will back no individual candidate. I believe that the British people now want us to focus on the economy, the continuing fight against terrorism, the terrorist threat to our country. They want us to continue to pursue the economic recovery, and I will do so with my usual vigour and determination. And I will do all in my power to support the British troops whose service and sacrifice create a debt of gratitude we can never fully repay. And I believe on Thursday the country was also telling us that they want a new politics and that the political reforms we seek will help deliver that change. I now intend to facilitate the discussions that the Liberal Democratic Party has asked for. Thank you very much. As you will understand, I will take no questions this evening. Other discussions can be had later.
Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, where was the music? We should have played music behind that, Boaz, because he was dancing. Now, earlier today, Cassandra and I had a discussion about, who does things better, the Americans or the Brits. Suffice to say, it was an issue that we disagreed about. Because, of course, she thinks the Brits do everything better, and I think that the Americans do everything better. But in one respect, I will tell you that when it comes to resigning from office, Americans do it much better than, well, if you don't believe me, see for yourself. Boaz, please play the second video.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow. Vice President Ford will be sworn in as president at that hour in this office.
Now that's a resignation. Short, sweet, to the point, effective tomorrow. Not effective when my party can put together whatever in order so that we may stay somewhat in power with another party that is also not in power, but not the party of the first part that won most of the votes during the election. You have to admit, Cassandra Wood, that when it comes to resigning, Nixon did a much better job than Gordon Brown. Cassandra Wood, welcome from the United Kingdom to News Talk Online on the Pal Talk News.
Well, thank you very much, but I don't think there is a lot of comparison between Nixon at the end of Watergate, which was an absolute and outright fraud on the American people and on the American government, and assault on it, and what Gordon Brown has done. Gordon Brown he could not resign, because if he resigned, there would be nobody there to take his place. The party has to go through a process by which they elect another leader, and that hasn't been done. It would mean that there would be nobody there to actually lead the party and to continue with the negotiations. He also, as the leader of the government, has to go to the Queen and resign. Now, if he went to the Queen and resigned, that would mean that he was, in essence, resigning as his party, as the leadership party in the country, and that would mean that she would then be able to invite the Tories in to invite them to form a government.
Well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? The Tories won the election, did they not?
Well, yes, they did. They did win the election. They didn't win an overall majority that is needed to have 50% of the votes in the government. But but they did. They have got the vote of confidence from the British people has been to the Tory party. Now what we've got is this wrangling.
Cassandra, what's the difference between
Gary,
I've been critical? Well, wait a minute. What's the difference between what I've been so critical in our government here, the parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, putting party first and country second? Is that not what Gordon Brown is doing based on what you just described to me? He's trying to protect his party, the Labor Party, by taking the bullet, but not really resigning, because if he resigns, then the conservatives come into control, because after all, the conservatives got more votes than the Labor Party did. Why doesn't he just resign and let the will of the people be heard?